about David, throw a little Saul in there, throw some Absalom in there. So what we talking about is David, right? So David outshined Saul without trying. Naturally, he wasn't trying to upstage Saul. He just was, keeping it real. He just was like doing all he could to help his people, doing all he could to serve his God, doing all he could to help, and he was outshining. They say Saul killed whatever, David killed 10 times that. You see what I'm saying? And that's what the people were saying. But you see how the things that Saul had to go through with David, David went through with Absalom. If you read, Absalom was very righteous at one point, and what he was doing was just trying to uphold who his father being David. He wanted to be a great man too. So David was such a just king that you could come to the king with your dispute before him and speak with the person you're having a dispute with, and y'all lay out points before each other. Just like they talk about how King Solomon later did with the women and the baby, David was doing that. You could come before David and seek justice, right? So it got so busy that it became a custom that Absalom would be outside at the door, like it might be a line or something. So Absalom would be at the door, and he'd be able to have the people peaceably agree, or either he was just resolving a lot of things at the door before he could even make it up to David. And at some point, the people start loving Absalom more than they love David. So David's the king, but they love his son so much, and his son is so righteous that he got the people. He got the people 100%. So now it's up to Absalom to make a move for the throne, because the people gonna really be behind him. The people who have seen David do wickedness. The people understand Solomon's mother had a child before Solomon by David that lost his life, but at the same time, how David went about getting that child. They looked at Uriah dying in battle. They looked at probably some of these things, and they loved David, but they said if his son's more righteous, his son's more righteous, So they felt like being behind Absalom. Absalom, for whatever reason, got arrogant, and he became a nuisance to David. Now, how did it work exactly the same way with him and Saul? No, but with David and Absalom, David ended up feeling the pangs of being kicked out of his own kingdom. It went as far as him having to leave his kingdom, be on the run from run from his own son, because he knew had his son called him, he would have put him to death or worse. So he wanted to stay out of his reach. He had got advice to just get up out of there. Like that, David was like, all right, I'm just gonna leave, or whatever the case may be. I'm not reading from the verses, so I'm just giving you a general understanding. When David was on the run, is when he was only out there with his most entrusted soldiers and the people who really loved him. You know what I'm saying? And he usually didn't really want them to come, but it was getting to a point that David was old when this happened. When this happened, David was getting older, and he couldn't go to war like he used to go to war, because David is a soldier, and David, is a warrior king that goes out in the ranks with his army. So he couldn't go out, and they was like, you can't even go back. When we go battle them, they battled at like in like an open field, right? Kidron, like by the valley of Kidron, maybe. I'm not sure, but they battled in an open field. And that's where Absalom, was taken or whatever. And he was taken up by his hair into the tree. He got caught up, and that was one of the things he had of Adam. He had the hair of Adam, and it ended up being a snare unto him, and such as hung him up in the tree and got him killed by Joab. But the thing is, you see the children of David have wisdom. Daniel is Chileab. Daniel has wisdom. Solomon. Jedediah is Solomon. Solomon has wisdom. If you go before that, Adonijah, it had wisdom, because you got to understand what Adonijah was smart enough to make Bathsheba go to her own son and ask for somebody else to be the king, because it was like a trick. Basically, he had her in terminology. He had her in a position asking for him to be given a wife, and I think it's Adonijah. I'm pretty sure it's Adonijah. But saying, hey, Solomon, just give him this woman, this virgin. So that was David's wife at the time. Had he gave him that virgin, then once he slept with her, he would have been the king, because whichever slept with the king's wife is the queen. I mean, the king's wife is the king. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he would have gained the kingdom right then and there by having sex with her. So it was like a very deep move. So all of David's sons had wisdom and were wise, because they David's children. You know, some of them went astray, but they still was David's children. All of them, as all men, go astray, but they still were David's children. You know what I'm saying? But Absalom had the advice of Ahithophel. Ahithophel told Absalom how to defeat David, and he just didn't listen. Maybe it was his father, he didn't want to kill him, but he just told him, like, hey, advance on him right now and you'll get him. If you let it linger, you done, because that's David. You know what I mean? He let it linger, and soon as he decided not to do it at that moment, like like Ahithophel told Absalom, go right now. Absalom is is Daniel and Solomon's brother. But he told Absalom, Ahithophel told Absalom, go right now and catch him while he don't really got nowhere to go, while he just running off, trying to get away from you. Catch him like that, and finish it off, and you'll have it. And if I'm not mistaken, he would have had it with the Lord. Like, I know y'all don't understand that. I know, you know, we so caught up in general, you know what I mean, understanding of the Bible, but you know, at that point it would have shifted, because David had already been, but God forgave David too, though. So, I mean, I don't even know how to explain it, but I know how the people felt. I know what the words say, what the people felt, and the people were behind Absalom. So based on David's, you know, people, the world is like that too. You got 1-2 mistakes, they're going to point them out and forget everything good you did for them. And so that's probably how David ended up being ousted out of his kingdom. When he came back, he had to reinvent everything. Even Joab, he had to reinvent who was the captain of his army. He had to reinvent who he had, you know, he had promised that he was going to get a kingdom to Solomon after that. Because you got to think about it, Absalom got to be older than Solomon. I ain't sure, but I'm pretty sure Absalom got to be older than Solomon, because Solomon was just a boy when he took the throne. And then it says how Absalom did all this to take the kingdom, and they already had got the kingdom from used the kingdom from David. So Absalom is obviously older than Solomon. So at some point, David just said, you know, I'm just gonna give it to Solomon. He the youngest, because they usually go from the oldest all the way down, and everybody else, they just skip to the next oldest if it be forsaken or something. But David just dropped it all the way to the bottom. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so you can kind of see, like, the things that be our glory at some point, if it's not how God wanted to be displayed, if you enjoy too much of the world, then he'll let you understand what you enjoy, and who stake, and who expense you enjoy, because you become a person that experienced something like you put somebody else through. So that's why you should be humble with your talents, be humble with your gifts, because you shining and outshining somebody is giving somebody who probably don't really got nothing against you hell, though, because of how people are. So if you got wisdom knowing how people are, I ain't saying never dim your light, but I'm saying be humble while you outshine someone. I ain't saying don't outshine. I'm saying shoot your frequency as high as you can shoot it. Shoot your brilliancy as bright as you can shoot it, but be humble. That's a part of it being as bright as it could be, you being humble.